A woman arrested and charged with murdering her missing roommate whose body has never been found. I have the disturbing case out of Florida and why police say Gisselle Victoria-Gonzalez is a killer. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Gisselle Victoria-Gonzalez is in jail in Orlando, Florida, and she's charged with murdering her roommate more than 2 years ago. 2 days after Christmas in 2022, Gisselle actually reported her roommate, Runy Medina Pacheco, missing to Orlando police. Runy, who was 42, was from the Dominican Republic, but staying with Gisselle while she was in the U.S. They were actually both from the Dominican Republic. Runy's family was also concerned because they hadn't heard from her, and they said that was unusual. They became very concerned. Police said Gisselle told detectives a week before Runy disappeared they actually got into a disagreement about money. Runy allegedly had $3,000 in cash that went missing. At first, she thought it was misplaced, possibly in boxes to be shipped to the Dominican Republic. But then on Christmas Eve, Runy wanted to talk with Gisselle about whether she took the money. Police believe Runy disappeared the next day. During the investigation, detectives said they determined the movement of Runy's phone matched Giselle's location and movements following Runy's disappearance. Detectives said evidence showed Gisselle left the apartment on December 26, 2022, and went straight to Lowe's. Police reviewed surveillance footage, which recorded Gisselle entering the store alone, and she bought a chainsaw. Detectives then determined through bank records that Gisselle went to Walmart and bought trash bags, dishwashing gloves, and Dawn dish soap. Based on statements Gisselle made to investigators and other evidence, they seized her phone and searched her apartment. According to an affidavit, highly incriminating searches were discovered on Giselle's phone. On Christmas Day, police said Gisselle searched which side of the body the aorta is on, followed by Home Depot and Walmart. Then hours for Home Depot. There was also a search for Amazon, search for a mini electric saw, prices for an electric saw. Then the day after Christmas, police said Gisselle searched for Home Depot, Cimarron Boulevard. What do they do with the trash in the U.S.? What do they do with the trash in Orlando? In an affidavit for an arrest warrant, police said they found dried blood in several areas of the apartment the two shared, and testing confirmed the blood was Runy's. At this point, the evidence is just stacked against Gisselle, but Gisselle took advantage of this and moved out of her Florida apartment. Fast forward to last November, Orlando police determined that Gisselle Victoria-Gonzalez had moved to Hartford, Connecticut, and they go there to get a DNA sample from her. Gonzalez was taken into custody and questioned. According to court documents, Giselle's story changes significantly from what she originally told police. According to the document, Gisselle said she admitted to being involved in a physical fight with Runy rather than an altercation through her bedroom door she had previously stated. She said Runy slapped her, at which time they both began punching each other and pulling each other's hair. Runy was also hitting her with her purse. The fight started in the hallway by the bathroom and then moved all over the apartment. At some point, the fight ended and Gisselle went into her bedroom. She exited her bedroom approximately 10 minutes later and Runy was gone, but her cell phone was on the dining room table. Now, this is a big difference from Gisselle saying there was a disagreement a week earlier and that she didn't see Runy on Christmas Day. Officers decided they had enough probable cause to charge Gisselle Victoria-Gonzalez with the murder of Runy Medina Pacheco. She is charged with second-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and grand theft.
You speak English? A little?
Muy poquito.
Okay.
Este es mi número de teléfono. ¿Puedo tenerlo?
They'll write it down, lo escriban.
¿Me lo guarda? Porque yo no, esto solo
Sí, te lo guardan. Y te lo
Cuando
escriban.
necesito,
Where's Contreras at? I need more Spanish fluent speaking here.
A Spanish-speaking officer arrives to translate and help with the booking process.
¿Cuál es su apellido?
Victoria
¿Victoria qué?
González.
Y el segundo apellido es...
González.
¿Qué?
Victoria,
¿Y
Victoria González, mi
¿Y
apellido.
dónde viene Gisselle?
Mi nombre.
¿Ese es su nombre también?
Mi nombre es Gisselle, primer nombre.
Okay.
Segundo apellido Victoria González.
Oh.
I want to tell you about Upside. It's a free app that gets you cash back on things like gas, groceries, and restaurants. This is real cash back. It's money that appears in your Upside app that you can transfer straight into your bank account. I've used Upside at Dunkin' Donuts when I needed a cup of tea or coffee. I claimed an offer for Dunkin' on the app, paid as usual, and followed the steps and got cash back. It's so easy. You can also use Upside at places like Shell, Exxon, 7-Eleven, Taco Bell, and that's just to name a few. To find out how much you could earn, click the link in the description to download Upside or scan the QR code on your screen and use our promo code CRIMEFIX to get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. That's promo code CRIMEFIX for extra cash back. Runy's body has still not been found to this day, but no family members have heard from her, nor has there been any activity in her bank account. But since her disappearance, there has been activity on her Facebook. On January 7th, approximately 13 days after Runy went missing, her profile and cover photo were updated. At first glance, this may not seem like a big deal, but her friends and family definitely noticed. To discuss all of this, I want to bring in David Sarney. He's a retired NYPD detective. So David, one of my big questions here is the fact that Runy's blood, they say it's all over the apartment. I mean, it just sounds like a horrific scene. There were efforts to clean up the scene, according to the blood spatter expert, yet it took almost 2 years to make an arrest in this case. Why do you think that was?
Well, again, thank you for having me. When this case started originally, you're dealing with primarily just a missing persons report. And you have the roommate reporting her roommate, in a sense, her friend missing. They had nothing to go on at that time. As they're going through the progression of this investigation, they're noticing inconsistencies in her story, inconsistencies on to why she went missing. And again, people can go missing all the time. It's about the circumstances in which that person goes missing. Apparently, she's never done this before, so they put a missing persons, an NCIC out there, a kind of an alert. As they do this investigation, they're noticing her story is changing as she goes along. And we've also seen in the past that many times these missing persons who are reported to the police, the person who reports them are usually ones responsible for that. So you kind of put her on the radar automatically, but the story becomes more and more inconsistent as this investigation goes forward. She states herself, she puts herself as the only one in communication with her at the last moment. She says she doesn't see her, but she's there. She's present with her. So now you have to deal with, if she's the only one who saw her, how do we go further on this investigation? And as they talk to her, they talk to the missing's family, they're seeing a pattern develop, that maybe this isn't just a missing, there's something else to it.
So Runy's son said that he talked to her in a video call on December 25th. So we have these kind of timestamps. We have these pretty concrete things that tell us when Runy was last heard from or seen alive. One thing that was pretty concerning to me was the fact that a neighbor heard what they thought was screaming between 10 and 11 a.m. This is what they thought. And it sounded muffled, almost as if somebody's mouth was being covered, but it didn't sound like it was coming from a TV. Maybe this person thought, oh, it's domestic violence, I'm not getting involved in this, or something like that. But you have all of this circumstantial evidence. Then you have her phone, Runy's phone, moving with Giselle's phone, and then the phone just shuts off. It's there's a lot of circumstantial evidence here, but then they don't have a body, but they have her purchasing a chainsaw and trash bags. I mean, it's very gruesome. It sounds like she probably maybe tried to dismember Runy and disposed of her in the trash.
Yeah, but with the research that they were doing on the phone and on the missing person's friend, the reporter's phone, they're starting to see a couple of things, and that's a timestamp. The benefit of talking to the reporter in this case, Gisselle, they're getting detailed information. They're able to lock her into a story, as to where she was from A to B to C to D. They get that into play. So now you have, you have to disprove the lie with facts. They're finding facts out in this case, which was beneficial. And they do a search on her phone. They look at her phone and they see things about purchasing items. They see, about talking about an aorta. How do you deal with an aorta injury? So it looks like with the blood spat, and this gives you an idea. If you're seeing that work on the phone, the workup on the phone, you now start looking at the fact that this person might have been killed at home, at the residence, compounded with the fact you have witnesses or ear witnesses in the case that there was a screaming match or something that went on. So you can lend to the point that probable cause of the incident took place in the house, thereby getting the search warrant and thereby doing the analysis to find the blood. Even though she tried to clean it up, and you could see that she tried to, even based on the work that she did, it was about cleaning up locations and things like that, how you dispose of a body. It lends more to that probable cause warrant. So it takes time to get to deal with this blood. And you're talking about an apartment. So you're going from the front door of the apartment all the way to wherever the bedrooms are, bathrooms and everything. So it takes some time. And they're fortunate enough to find that she was not able to clean up the scene as she thought she did.
Yeah, I mean, the blood spatter expert, Stuart James, and he's been around a long time. His description of what he believes happened is very disturbing. I mean, anytime somebody is killed, it's disturbing, but he describes kind of an up and down, kind of downward movement. It almost sounds like somebody was stabbed potentially. That's what he paints, a very gruesome picture. And he describes, an effort to clean up. The scene was damaged, at least the forensics, and that there's dried blood all over the place. I mean, it's blood by the entertainment center and all kinds of things. I mean, it's a very gruesome scene that he describes.
Yeah, the blood, one thing about people, I don't think people realize, there's a lot of blood in you. And as much as you try to clean up that in the situation, especially with this, it looks like it was possibly a stabbing. Given the fact that she's probably trying to stab her in the chest. So it kind of lends credence to the circumstantial evidence of the plunging and the screaming and the fighting. And not only that, the irritated voice that apparently answers the phone later on that evening. So you're seeing a lot of things come into play. Like I said, blood is hard to get rid of. It really is. I mean, people think you could do a cleaning of it. The only way you might have gotten away with it is probably burning the house down in a sense, but that didn't happen because she was residing there. And she thought about the murder. She thought about how to rid the body. But like most people and most first-time type of murderers, in a sense, they're not as smart as they think they are. And they don't reach, the cleaning up is a lot harder than they think it is.
I'm glad you brought up that phone call. Runy's mom said she called her phone later Christmas Day, and a woman answered who wasn't Runy, and the voice sounded agitated and hung up. So I think investigators, the inference there is that it was Gisselle answering the phone.
Yeah, that's what apparently is, because they did the geolocation on the phone on the missing cell phone, which shows the tracking of that phone going pretty much wherever wherever that Gisselle went. That Runy's phone was with her the whole time, it seems, and then eventually dies out. So the work the detectives did in the beginning made it very important near the end to develop the circumstantial evidentiary case. And you don't have a body. That's the one thing people are concerned about. But there's so much evidence that was obtained by the cell phone searches, by the analysis on the phone, the apartment itself, the canvas of the area, the speaking to the family members, to possible witnesses, ear witnesses, or eyewitnesses, in this case, ear witnesses. So you've seen something beneficial in this case. It really is a very thorough investigation. And that's what we have to understand, is detectives have to be very thorough with these cases. They're not slipshod. One of my bosses said, you can't broad brush things. It's no longer a paintbrush, it's a scalpel. And that's what this took place. Very detailed work in this. Because now, once they realized that this person doesn't normally disappear, we always look at it as a possible homicide case.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of detail. I mean, there's the affidavit is very detailed. And Gisselle totally changes her story later on and talks about how they had this physical altercation, and she admits to stealing the money that Runy thought she stole from her. So, I mean, it's just an incredibly, really gruesome, sad case. Do you think, is there any hope that they can recover her body? We don't know if she was indeed disposed of in the trash, but that was the research that was done on Giselle's phone. Do you think there's any hope that they are able to recover anything?
The only thing you maybe be able to get is maybe an allocution as to from the defendant in this case where the body was disposed of, because you're dealing with 2 years now, and when it happened, they didn't know she was missing. And could you look back and do a search of the garbages? I don't know how the garbage works in that community, because sometimes that's a way of doing it. But they had no reason to look at it at that time because she was just reported missing. They didn't automatically, let's go in the garbage, because there was nothing to detail that she would have been murdered or disappeared in a very suspicious way. It was a suspicious missing, but nothing led to that type of investigation. So 2 years down the road, unless maybe the defendant will say something as to what she did with the body, because they weren't able to recover the saw, or the possible weapon she utilized to kill Runy. This is going to be maybe part of the trial process and maybe the conviction.
Yeah, it's a really horrific, sad case. Thank you so much, David Sarney, for coming on to talk about it. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Take care.
And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.